Ladies and gentlemen, my name is George and welcome to Gaming My Whole Life. I strongly believe the Switch 2 is crazy powerful and that's what we will be discussing today. Now, in case you're new to this channel and you haven't seen my previous video, if you want my opinions and thoughts and basically my rage against the price of Nintendo Switch 2 games, feel free to check out that other video I did previously. I got all my anger, I got all my ranting out there, and it's literally taken me 2 days time just to calm down enough that I can even do this much more positive feeling video. But the insane prices aside and my negative association with that, I like to separate things into boxes so then we can have fun and insightful conversations, and that leads to today's topic. While having a look at the Switch 2 exclusive games, while having a look at the Switch 2 versions of pre-existing games, and while having a look at Switch 2 upgrades, it is quite clear to me that not only is the Switch 2 officially powerful enough that it will let us have the third-party support that we were so worried we would lose. Not only is it powerful enough that it will absolutely give Nintendo the tools they need to wow us even further and not fall behind, and not only do I think the Switch 2 match the strong rumors that it is at least as powerful as a PlayStation 4 Pro, but I think what we're going to get out of the Switch 2 is even more powerful than a PlayStation 4 Pro. So I'm generally surprised at how much of a beast this handheld is. So let's go over the games. This is just a general fun conversation. Let's look at the technical side of things and just acknowledge how powerful this freaking gorgeous handheld is. So number one, the basic stuff, it now supports 4K. Obviously the Switch prior only went up to 1080p. Now simply having the ability to do 4K itself and to do 4K natively is a bit of a flex in of itself. Going from 1080p resolution to 4K is a big deal. It is very demanding. You don't even need to be a tech head to understand that if you're doing PC gaming and you're able to max the settings on a game 1080p and max everything else, we have all learned the hard way that the second you buy a bigger monitor and then you require 4K resolution, that it takes a drastic hit to your system and performance. Then all of a sudden you can no longer max those games. All of a sudden you've gone to maybe medium settings. But the Switch is pulling that off. Surprisingly enough, it even goes up to 120 frames per second, supports HDR, that's going to look gorgeous. But let's talk about the actual games. So the first game I want to refer to, so Donkey Kong Bananza, finally a 3D Donkey Kong game has finally happened. That game runs at 4K. Everything is destructible, and I think that by itself is the biggest flex that we shouldn't let go over our heads. So you don't really need to know that much about actual game development and resources and so forth, just to have the basic simple understanding that the moment your video game has a destructible world, the moment you can literally dig a hole underneath you and you can destroy the landscape as you see fit, the moment you can pile drive through the ground itself and pick up chunks of rock and then use that rock to smash down entire hills and so forth, that takes a lot of resources and a lot of power. In other words, if Donkey Kong Bananza didn't have the ability to destroy everything in sight, that means they would be able to actually push the graphic envelope much further. But to hold a rock solid 4K, to be able to destroy everything around you whilst simultaneously looking better than anything we have seen on the Switch 1, without frame drops, without stutter, without loss of clarity, that is a huge flex, and obviously something that was not possible on the original Switch. One thing that Nintendo is famous for doing is, and I would like them to focus more on graphics to be honest, just to show off their power a bit more. But anyway, one thing that Nintendo does prioritize is unique and different experiences. So when they started developing Donkey Kong Bananza, they were not thinking, how can we make this Donkey Kong game look so good that people will just lose their minds? Unfortunately, that was on the bottom of their priority list. Instead, they'll be, right, what can we do different? How can we flex? What additional options does the extra power give us? And of course, they came to the solution with insane destructibility. It really is mesmerizing just how much you can destroy things. And you're not destroying things in an ugly world. You are destroying things in a world that looks as good as Mario Odyssey, for example, while having so much chaos on the road. Another flex in of itself, even though this is a bit less obvious, is Mario Kart World. Now yes, Mario Kart World looks gorgeous, so did Mario Kart 8, and Mario Kart World or Mario Kart 9 looks even better. That is not too much of a surprise. It has a softer look, but there's better shadows and better textures and so forth. Although at a distance, you're not really going to be able to tell. Where the flex and where it gives us an insight with just how much more power the Switch 2 is running with, because Donkey Kong Bananza, Mario Kart World, these are exclusives. They're not even going to try bring it to Switch. And Mario Kart World in of itself is a very big flex. We're going from 12 races, 12 of them on screen at any one time on the Switch. With even that was a big flex. Having 12 races, everyone being able to go in every single direction, explosions, items, this and that, going all over the place. It was absolute chaos, and yet the Switch and the Wii U could run as flawlessly. Even if you split the screen for multiplayer, so then you can play. The fact that you could have 12 races on the screen at one time, split it 4 ways, do 4-way battles, then that goes 12 races, 12 races, 12 races, 12 races, explosions everywhere. Somehow all of that was able to run. It was magic in of itself. Mario Kart World doubles that. We're going to 24 races, so to be able to go from 12 to 24, to have all that chaos, to still maintain all the split screen options, to be able to have the countless explosions left, right and center, and the whole thing maintains its fluidity. That is a huge flex and gives you a little bit of an insight as to what's going on under the bonnet itself, because when you multiply players like that, you multiply options. When you multiply options, you multiply unpredictable scenarios which developers like to avoid, because that causes suddenly games crashing and slow down. So the fact that we can have 24 races, better graphics overall in general, and all that will run smoothly at 4K or 120 frames per second at 1080p in handheld shows massive balls, massive confidence, and massive capabilities of what the system can do. Further evidence to suggest that the Switch 2 is actually crazy powerful is something Nvidia said. So this is official, this next part. This isn't even my theory. If you go to the Nvidia website and have a look at their blog section, Nvidia confirms a couple things. One, confirms DLSS, which is fantastic. That's when you grab the lower resolution, you stretch it up to 4K, you save on resources and this and that. We don't know if the games we have seen so far are even using DLSS. It looks native, it looks that clean. But Nvidia also confirms, and they beat Nintendo to the punch, that the Switch 2 does indeed support ray tracing. So fantastic. So if a must-have third-party game comes out in the future that has a heavy reliance on ray tracing, we haven't quite seen that yet, but if such a game comes out, Nintendo will not fall behind. They will not be the only company who does not receive a port, because they were the only ones who don't support ray tracing, because the PlayStation 5 supports ray tracing, the Xbox Series S and X support ray tracing, and now the Nintendo Switch 2. But let me read you a quote from Nvidia, and this is going to blow you all away. And I quote, "With 10 times the graphics performance of the Nintendo Switch, the Nintendo Switch 2 delivers smoother gameplay and sharper visuals." Now, in that same blog, Nvidia does talk about the fact that there is AI at work here, because they are the graphics card partner officially for the Nintendo Switch 2, and they're the ones that have made the custom thing, and DLSS and ray tracing and so forth. They have done everything that Nintendo has requested. This is a custom build and so forth. And obviously AI is what would push it to the 10 times the graphics performance. But even if this is to be taken with a grain of salt, this is the best of all conditions and possibilities, that's confirming what I'm seeing with my own eyes. And it's also, when you look at Switch games being upgraded to the Switch 2, I'm generally surprised at how easy and fluid and smooth it looks. When you have a look at Metroid Prime 4, Metroid Prime 4 on the original Switch is obviously the title that's taken the most time to work, and visually it is fantastic. The graphics in Metroid Prime 4 have been so good that some people have been debating, when they originally showed it to us, if it's even a Switch game at all, or if in fact it was a Switch 2 game. But no, this was a Switch 1 game pushing the graphical envelope, and now we know that there will be the upgraded option for the Switch 2. So having that gorgeous game, Metroid Prime 4, running at 4K smoothly without the slightest hitch, 60 frames per second, beautiful. You can't do that without insane power below the bonnet. Or the performance mode, full 1080p, so that will never drop, with 120 frames per second. Do you have any idea how much extra power you need under the hood and how good your game needs to be running to even consider 120 frames per second, even if it is at just 1080p? All this is a huge flex by Nintendo, because these things, okay, you know what is another good example? We've all played, and I bring it up in almost every single video because I'm a massive fanboy here. I love Zelda Breath of the Wild. I think that game looked phenomenal, and it is easily the best open world game I have ever played. Before all the Bethesda games were my favorite open world games, I played Zelda Breath of the Wild and immediately, that's number one, loved it. That being said, it was so clear that Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom was getting its butt handed to them by the hardware which was holding them back. They were absolutely pushing the limit to what the Wii U can do and what even the Switch 1 could do. Whenever you ran around, there was so much going on, so many physics. Don't get me wrong, what they produced was beyond impressive. The amount of simulation going on is mesmerizing. However, the pixel count, the frame rate, all of that really struggled. It didn't simply run smoothly at a lower resolution, it struggled to breathe half the time. When you went to certain forests and you simply rotated the camera, performance just took a night dive, and so many times the grass would look pixelated. So to see that same scene, that same game, running on the Switch 2 is phenomenal, because not only is it flawless now, flawless, not a single bump or anything. From what I can tell, I think the Switch, with everything from the third-party games to the first-party games that have been shown so forth, I don't think the Switch has even broken a sweat. I don't think it's broken a sweat. It seems to be running these things so very, very easily. And it's doing a great job of giving us ease of mind of, hey, because before the Switch 2 was revealed, right, we're all like, man, I hope the Switch 2 is even as powerful as the PlayStation 4. Like, that's how low our expectations were, right? Because the Switch, let's be honest, love it, but very weak console. It really struggled in a number of areas. And we're like, right, can it at least be powerful enough that we can even tell the difference? We don't want it slightly better, we want it a lot better if possible. And it feels like Nintendo has actually done that for once with the actual hardware itself. I think Nintendo, for the first time, has tried to give us the best graphics possible. I think this is going to be the best handheld experience. Who knows what my next video will be, but I hope you subscribed. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Be sure to give me a like on the video, it really helps with the algorithm. With that being said, God bless you all, take care, and I'll see you all for the next video. Alright, bye bye.